Hey.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Revolutionary Spa. As always, it's your girl, Sophia Sebi, as your host on UNN TV. So, welcome to everyone. I will use mostly English because I want everyone to have an understanding of what we're talking about, what drives us to do what we do all the time, what drives us to make decisions, what drives us to behave the way we do, and what limits us from making sure that we take action, and that's rightful action. Revolutionary Spa is all about self-purposeful action. So I know I wasn't there last week, and I apologize, and I have not communicated to you why I haven't been here. But as we find out, we will know. But first of all, let's go into our introduction, or let's go into our welcome with a lovely national anthem. Today's a little bit different from before, and I appreciate that this show will help us to sort of see that we're together as UNN. So we go into our anthem, and it will be the national anthem. Then today I've chosen to have the Acholi anthem, and I've done that for a purpose, for a reason. I do have maybe some ties up north. So welcome everybody, and let's listen to our anthem. Humble yourselves with respect, okay?
Oh, Uganda, may God uphold thee. We lay our future in thy hand. United, free, for liberty together.
Welcome back to everybody, and welcome to the show on UNN TV. Welcome, and it's the show with your host, Sophia Sebi. It's the Revolutionary Spa show, and it's about self, purposeful action. So, revolutionary self, revolutionary purpose, revolutionary action. We all need to have a purpose. We all need to have a way forward. And how do we make sure that what we're doing now is not the same as what we did yesterday, or the same as what we did last year, or the same as what we did last month? Welcome, everybody. And I'm your host again, Sophia Sebi. Today, I just want to, as always, in fact, it's not just today, as always, I always want to start with being grateful, because it's important, whatever we do, that we are grateful on what we received yesterday, the day before, today, and what we receive tomorrow. When I say what we receive tomorrow, I don't mean, sometimes it's not really about tangible receiving of things. We just need to think of receiving much more. We receive life, we receive good health, we receive having friendships, we receive being able to have honest and honest work. How are you grateful in your life? What have you been grateful for today? And before I proceed, happy new month. By the way, the year has gone really fast, hasn't it? I know we literally were in December, and now we're in March, but all the same, we're thankful to God. We're thankful to God for giving us this new month. We're thankful that we're still alive, at least some of us. We're still healthy. All those that are not, I do pray for you. All those that have particularly become ill, be it by accident, be it long-term illness, I do send my love and prayers that you will get well soon, as long as you have firm belief and faith in your being, and of course in the higher power, God, the universe, call it what you will, Allah, Jesus. We're all here on this planet, or on this UNN platform as well, and we've migrated to new environments. For instance, we've come from home to the diaspora, wherever you are, for growth. We are here for evolution. We don't stay static. We are evolution. We live in a world which evolves all the time. So we need to acknowledge not living life without a purpose. We must have a purpose. We must know our purpose on earth with life. Why did you go to the diaspora? There's a purpose, there's a reason. So we're here for growth, for evolution. And therefore, it is important to acknowledge those that you grow with, the environments that you go through. They might be challenging, yes, but they all teach us something. We learn something from it. If you haven't learned something from where you are or your experiences, then just know then you probably have stopped living. Every one of us is valuable. Every single one of you is valuable. Never ever forget that. You are valuable. You have something to say. You have something to do. Not let anybody, do not compare yourself with anyone. Like I said, my show is a little bit different from what Prince Chimbugwe normally comes on with, what this and that Mrs. Wamala comes on with what Desire comes on with. It is different. It's about the self-purposeful action. I want to get your mindset to thinking differently. I would like to contribute something into your own life, so that you can go and spread. It's almost like spreading a seed. You don't have to spread 20 seeds to have many. So if you invest in yourself, if I invest in you and you invest in me, I'm sure I'll be able to go and spread it everywhere. So kamu kamu gwe muganda, as we say, as Baganda say, kamu kamu gwe muganda. Right? Every one of us is valuable. Every one of us. So hopefully, I suppose not hopefully, I have a firm belief, and as on UNN TV and UFCC, we believe that federal doctrine or federal system is what will help us individuals come through and be valued as members of our society. So I dedicate, obviously, this show to the people of Acholi. I know the North we don't normally get to interact so much with, but it is important. I welcome you, from the North. I do have my ties, from paternal side, but I welcome you to join us to be here today. And the reason why I'm using English most of the time is because I really know that there's so much Luganda already spoken on UNN. So why not anyone from the north or east or west to understand me, to understand what I'm saying? So I would like to extend my gratitude again, first of all, to the Most High for enabling us to come together in the first place. Special thanks to all those who came before us, the elders, present and the past. My colleagues, as always, at UNN, Prince Chimbugwe, Mrs. Wamala, Mr. Gombia, Prince Page, Desire, Gerald, Hanifa, and all the producers behind the scenes. I am grateful. I appreciate you for the contributions on building a revolutionary Uganda. All UNNians, especially you UNNians, those who are UNN followers, who are with us every day, who contribute through discussions, for trusting and believing in the UNN TV vision. And of course, UFCC, every single one of you who contributes to the Ugandan revolution, be it emotionally, practically, financially, or otherwise, I am grateful. We are grateful. It's all about all those supporters of fundamental and revolutionary change. We are grateful. I'm not going to name names, but every single one of you knows exactly what you do to contribute to your country, to the future of a changed Uganda, revolutionary Uganda, in fact. So as we move on into our show today, I just wanted to just make sure that we are grateful. I just wanted to make sure that we are reminded that where we go one, we go all. Like I said, kamu kamu gwe muganda, where we go one, we go all. We cannot go singularly. We cannot go singularly. We have to have a collective goal. And the reason why we're here on UNN and not individually going on to, as I suppose, doing our little bits on having individual pages or whatever. And it's good, continue having your single pages to, educate and pass on the message. Because that demonstrates that there's learning, there's education that has been passed on. We must learn to look after our own before we think of others coming to help our own. If we don't look after our own, someone else will. Like I keep saying, we cannot keep calling and lamenting and asking, please help, please, the colonizers, please come and help us. The Chinese, please come. Everyone else, outside of ourselves, it is us that need to liberate ourselves. We cannot be liberated by someone else. And how do we get liberated? We need to have a revolutionary mindset. We need to transform. We have to have a transformed mindset, not to do things as they were before. We must have a revolutionary mindset. We cannot go as business as usual. So as I go back a little bit in terms of last week I missed coming on due to unavoidable circumstances. So I do apologize for not communicating. However, I am a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. God works in mysterious ways indeed. And I encourage you all, or encourage all of us, to really tap into this phenomenon of God works in mysterious ways. What does it mean, God working in mysterious ways? When you, for instance, when you look at the butterfly, when you look at the butterfly, what does it say? It becomes something that whatever comes out of a lover, it becomes this beautiful thing, a mysterious. You would never have thought, if you found the butterfly in its formation stage, that it would be this beautiful thing with different colors, with amazing things, God working in mysterious ways. So if we really believe that God works in mysterious ways, do we really believe what we are saying? Or we just say for the sake of saying, because you've had someone saying it? So I encourage all of us to really tap into this phenomenon. I mean, to philosophers, it is called the universal laws. If you've read about the universal laws, or you do read about these, and they have something that they've changed or transformed your life, then by all means share the comments, put it in the comments and tell me which universal law that you go with, or that sort of leads your actions or your life. How do you get to live your life? What principles do you live by? So this can be sort of the law of attraction, for instance. It's almost like what you put out there, you get back. You cannot put out evil and get back good. You cannot put out, let's say, put out something like bad karma and get something good out of it. What you put out, you get back. As it is above, so below. The law of cause and effect. So there's always consequences. There's always consequences to whatever you do. Even if you don't think that there's consequences to what you do, there are always going to be consequences. There's always a cause that you've done something, and there's an effect, the outcome. There's a law of substitution. You cannot have something else without you. I beg your pardon. You cannot have, for instance, you cannot have a thought. You cannot have a thought, and if you stop having that thought or behavior, for instance, actually, let's have an example of a behavior. If you have a behavior, you must replace it with a different behavior. Every time there's this law of substitution. There's a law of suggestion. You can suggest to your mind, what else you'd like, what you'd like to do. How would you like to live your life? You suggest to your mind that I am going to be rich, I'm going to be wealthy, or you say, I am healthy, I am rich, I am successful. When you say that sort of affirmations, you say it all the time. You are what you say you are. there's law of success. Anyway, there's many more. So you can have a look into that. Is you can research. Is lots of available resources that you can look into. So you can look into. I will not go into these today, in detail, but I leave it with you to do your own research about them. I too am still learning. In fact, I will most likely do for the rest of my life. I realize there's a lot of the laws of the universe. And there's so much I believe that we can learn from them. It's not voodoo, it's just simply nature, the universe, God. There's so many scriptures, I'm sure, in the Quran, as well as the surahs and the scriptures in the Bible that show or have evidence of the laws of the universe, how God works in mysterious ways. It's not necessarily really mysterious. It's the laws of the universe that the philosophy explains them in layman's language for man to understand. So with so much out there that will broaden our understanding of ourselves, God and the universe, I am also encouraged to have a more open-minded view. So you let in other perspectives. It's important we let in other perspectives to widen our knowledge. I believe our stringent mindset disables us from seeing beyond what we see in front of us, the physical. We are always comparing the physical. We have a small mindset that we cannot see liberation or revolution in Uganda. And the more as a collective we don't see that vision, we are contributing to the law of the universe. One of the laws, we attract what we see or what we think about. If we think it's impossible, it will be impossible. But if we think that it is possible, it will be possible. We need to, first of all, manifest what we want to see for our future. So when we concentrate a lot on the physical mind, in fact, the unseen world, the spirit world, makes up the majority of our reality. Remember, in our first episode, I talked about the iceberg effect, where the famous psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud suggested that the human mind only uses 5% of its ability. 5%. The human mind has been reported, or there's research and evidence that we only use 5% of our ability consciously, and the 95% of our thoughts are unconscious or subconscious. If you've seen the iceberg effect, you've got the little bit of the iceberg, but the majority of the iceberg is underneath. Perhaps that's why ships, or how do you call it, the Titanic, maybe that's why it capsized, because there was so much underneath that was unseen, and all they see a little bit on the top, which means that our mind is only on the top. That's where we are always operating. But imagine if we tapped into our subconscious. So what this means is that we do not use most of our brain consciously. What does that mean? When you consciously use your brain, everything it's about purpose. You purposefully do something. You are on UNN for a purpose. You're consciously going onto the UNN shows, putting the bell to remind you. You have maybe your diary or planner that you work from every single day. You don't just wake up and say, what am I going to do today? If we all attempted to do this, whereby we're planning our days, we're planning our future, our vision, we're writing down, our vision is to liberate Uganda, or to have a revolutionary Uganda, or in your own lives, Today, this is my goal. What am I working towards? But imagine, most of us, we're somewhere in the diaspora. We know that we want money. What are you going to use that money for? Even if you earned all the money that you wanted to earn, you probably will go back with zero. And 1 year will be you make all the money, but you still be lamenting that you don't have enough, you haven't saved enough. Therefore, you need to spend a lot more time. We have done that. And this is our culture. It's ingrained in us that we're always really subconsciously living our lives without purpose. And this is the mess that we're in today. We've left the politicians to get on with it, and we haven't consciously said, no, I am consciously choosing that person for this reason, because I know this is what I'm going to get out of it. This is what my community Uganda is going to get out of it. This is what my children in the future are going to get out of it. Why is it that we're all getting married, wanting children? What sort of society are you going to leave behind for your children anyway? If we do not get consciously, if we do not live consciously, we are wasting our time, because we will continue to be in this lamenting of. But as I conclude the first half of this, like I said, what this means is that we do not use most of our brain consciously. We are subconscious. We do things on autopilot. It means that we are likely to repeat the same things over and over, even when they are wrong. The brain doesn't differentiate between right or wrong. It simply soaks in what you feed it, and it will give it back exactly how you stored it from your thought process. The brain, there's this saying that the brain is like a computer hard drive. Our subconscious mind is like a hard drive. It stores everything that you fed it over the years, and it will help you to bring it back, and it manifests itself in the life that you're living, life we're living, the society we're living, the community we're living in. So it can be something like the culture that we've lived, the religion that gives you that information and you store it, your parents, how you were brought up, the society, just lack of manners, lack of etiquette. We simply love living in a perspective of things, accumulating things. We have to go and make money and accumulate things. I have to go to the diaspora so that I can make my life better. Your life will not be better because you're living in the diaspora. You're only going to repeat the same habits that you had in Uganda before you left. Because why? You still have the same religious beliefs. You still have the same cultural beliefs. You still are of your parents, what they taught you. We have really bad money, for instance, financial planning. And it shows clearly in our society, in our communities. We have poor management of money. When you look at the Ugandan situation, the corruption, what are we? That is a reflection of our upbringing, of what we are, what we're thinking about, our subconscious mind. Your friends, that saying that says birds of the same feather flock together, the workplace, the political situation, as I've explained, are all contributing to our being, our way of life. You just have to look at, like I said, the political situation. We use the same method to choose our leaders. We use money to gain power, the corruption, the bribes. We are contributors of that system. It is not us and them. We should not blame someone else. It is us. I know it will be a little bit controversial, and I know it helps to blame someone else and not blame ourselves. It's easier said. We go to work to hoard, to accumulate things. That is a pure money management for most of us. This is why there's the 1% most wealthy, and the rest of us, we're not. Our language about money doesn't grow on trees, those statements of our parents, this taught us to be fearful of acquiring the money or placing so much emphasis on the money. It's not about the money, the paper money. It's about the relationships that we need to invest in. It's about our mindset, really completely doing away with these thoughts process that in turn bring about this behavior. And this behavior is exactly what you see from bottom to top. Money, the thoughts or the saying that money is the root of all evil. No, money is not the root of all evil. People are the root of all evil. Because if money was the root of all evil, why then are we even bothering to try and go to, new places, new environments, for pastures new? Why? So my philosophy is that I am making an effort consciously to listen to the God energy power within me about everything happening for a reason. So that said, I want to ask you, what do you expect you deserve? As we go into our topic, our next stage, what do you expect you don't deserve? I'll leave that there, leave it with you. And remember, where we go one, we go all. Let's come back after this break.
basebo na banyabo abasigazi n'empangare tubona bwino okumara obwire buringwa abamwe muri twe turugire omu maka gaitu twaza omu myanya endiijo tukuteekateeka ngu ahi tuhungire niho turafunira obuhuumuriro konka byona tubiine makuru. Ekicweka kyaitu kikaba kiine obusingye kikaba nikishemeza buri omwe. Twine ebihangwa birungi obukama bwaitu ruhanga akabutaha n'omutima gumwe konka nitwebuuza ninki kyashobire habw'enki nitubonabona okuhika ahari eki batubihabiihire obwire buringwa konka aka niko kaire okwegaita hamwe n'abanyayuganda abandi boona okufuna engyeri ei tukubaasa kufunamu amagezi tureebe nitubaasa kugaruraho sita ekitiinisa n'obusingye bw'ekicweka kyaitu. basebo na banyabo abasigazi n'empangare mwije twegaite n'abanyayuganda abandi boona omu rukiiko rwa Uganda Federal Consultative Council. abanyayuganda boona ahi bakuza kwegaitira hamwe okubaasa kushara amagezi goona okugaruraho entegeka ya federal omu bicweka biitu. obukama bwaitu nitubwenda bugarukeho nk'oku bwabaire buri. okumanya burikukiraho hereza okushaba kwawe ahari email ya ufcc@gateunn.com. federal nikyo kyokugaruka mu kyebuuzo biitu byona bitwine. ensinkore tushemeza katweyongera okweshongora. ensinkore tushemeza.
Time takes a toll on everyone, they say. Time is merciless, it won't wait for us to change. Time, I am stressing out, I can't figure out what to say. Oh, time, just give us time. Time, looking back on pictures, and I find it hard to see you and myself in places where we used.
Welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, it's the Revolutionary Spa, which is about self-purposeful action, revolutionary self-purposeful action. Before I go into our topic today, topic is the deserving and undeserving. What is the cost of a lack mindset? I have already given you a little bit of my thoughts on what I believe is this whole lack mindset, our actions, how our subconscious mind impacts on our actions 95% of the time. So what we do is 95% of the time, which is the subconscious, we're on autopilot. And that's where the cost of a lack mindset comes in. Doing things not being purposeful, doing things without being conscious. Why am I doing what I'm doing? If I want to go to the Arab world, or if I want to go to the UK, or I want to go to this America, why am I going there? What do I intend to achieve? If I'm taking my child to a particular school, what is my purpose? Am I taking my children to a mainstream school because a friend is taking their children to that school? What are my values as an individual, as a family, as a couple, as a single parent? Why are you using the same schools, or why are you maybe perhaps that school is much more expensive than you can afford? How do we take action because we're seeing friends, because culture has taught us that we must use bribes and we're contributing to the corruption? We are not removed from the situation of Uganda. We have full responsibility, and we need to take full responsibility. I will continue to say this all the time. I say this, we take full responsibility, not because I want to harm or hurt anyone's feelings, but it's not about the feelings anymore. We're about emotional intelligence, and we're not using our emotions to change our country. We're using strategic thinking, and part of that is making sure that our mindset is intact, and we are revolutionizing it completely. We're doing away with the old. We're transforming ourselves, and it starts with you and me transforming ourselves. That will contribute to the transforming of our nation. So, like I said before I go into the topic today, I was thinking if I could sort of, I was thinking, should I bring about the examples when the topic is about the deserving and undeserving? Thinking about, shall I bring the examples of our sort of situation where you have the poor people on the road, the poor mothers or women in the markets, or crying, lamenting, and all of those things. I was thinking, should I just talk about that? And once again, we go into the thing of feeling sorry for ourselves. So whilst I was doing research, I thought, maybe I should bring up a lot of what others have done to us, why we're in this situation. I realized this was once again playing the victimhood, the blame game, the not being accountable or take responsibility, that sort of type of mentality, which is all about the lack mindset. Obviously, why does this happen? I am a part of society. I am a part of that culture that has had this lack mindset. This happens for many reasons because of my land behaviors. We are creatures of habit, so we're always doing the same things all the time. The self-sabotage, the anger, the shame. You want to always blame someone else for your life, going the way it is or being the way it is. Sympathy. We want sympathy from everyone else when we talk about please mujemu tuyambe. Do you understand? That sympathy that someone else needs to feel sorry for you. Sympathy of asking for all the time. Your life is the one that is not going well. We tulibalwadde all the time, for goodness sake, Ugandans. Tulikuchi, I'm sorry for going into the Luganda. For the sake of my annoyance and expression, I can only express probably better in the Luganda. When you think, sometimes you think in a language, we do think in language. We can think English or we can think Luganda, but on this, this whole sympathy thing, it's really annoying when you see the videos of lots of ladies or lots of people in the Arab world crying, asking for help. Mujemu tiyambe. Please tell me who sold their business to pay for tickets to go to the Arab world. I am not saying that you're to blame, not at all. I am simply saying this is learned behavior. You're only copying what your environment gave you, what the environment that you live in has molded you into this whole being of thinking that your life is not your life is missing something. We're always having this lack mindset that our life misses something. We're not grateful for what we have. And when we don't have to say we're not grateful, it's our actions that say we're not grateful, always being ready to receive charity. Why do we need charity constantly? We've had over 50 years or maybe more charity organizations, hundreds and thousands of them. So history repeating itself all the time, all the time. We are repeating the same things all the time and expecting different results. That is what's most heartbreaking for our nation. We want sympathy. We self-sabotage. We feel... And I think sometimes it's because we don't want it to be real. When we know the truth, just like it happened post-elections, pre-elections, what happened was that we thought we were in La La Land, we were in unreal world, someone giving us lip service. Lots of people gave lip service on what is going to happen, what will happen to change. Words, but actions spoke differently. So when you do something in your own life, say something, what comes out of your mouth becomes true. When you lie constantly, my child is sick, my mom is dead, my this is that, because you want to get that little bit of money, you are manifesting your future and yourself all the time. So we feel less guilty because we have not, we just want someone to feel sorry for us. Abazungu webaja, you just want to treat them so much better because what you're seeing is dollar signs, pound signs. You're not seeing human beings. You are not seeing imagine, like for instance, when you go home, you're trying to get through the airport. Those girls or those people who work at the airport will be treating the white better than you, the indigenous person. Why? Because of money, seeing dollar signs. And so they're treating us less than. We treat each other less than. If someone is not giving you money, you treat them less than. and all the feelings that may come from it. And, for me, so I thought I am not going to talk about this whole idea of deserving and undeserving the way you probably might be thinking it should go. No, I'm not going to do that. I am going to say we need to take accountability. We need to be accountable. This whole idea of we deserve and we don't deserve, we deserve. That's it, point blank. We deserve what we need to get. We deserve to share the cake, the national cake. We deserve. Who is telling us we don't deserve? We deserve. If you say to yourself, we don't deserve, because you're begging, you're kneeling down to ask for money, you're begging for cars, you kneel down. You've seen a lot of the, politicians and a lot of the musicians going to beg and kneeling down. And what? Imagine that picture in your head, our children seeing those images. Just our children seeing those images. Straight away, they subconsciously have storing it in their brain, saying that we don't deserve. We need to be a certain class to deserve. We need to be looking a certain way to deserve. We all deserve. So I had to rethink my approach and felt it was more beneficial if I approached this topic the same way as I have intended for these mindset series, and the whole purpose why this specific show, the Revolutionary SPA, Self-Purposeful Action, was created in the first place. I am not here to make people feel good. I am simply here to open your mind. If your mind is not already open or broad enough to see beyond the physical, in order to understand the topic, we must understand what we're talking about. Deserving, what is the deserving and what is the undeserving? I'm sure you're all very, very, very good nowadays for doing research. Please do, research definitions of deserving and undeserving. But ultimately, we all have a choice in most things that we do. We choose to act or not to act. And that's where the deserving comes in. You choose to be deserving or not to be deserving. No one else chooses for you to be deserving or not deserving. How? Because of your mindset. Our mindset chooses to say we're deserving. When you see someone kneeling down to, for you to because they've been given some money, which they deserve, we're aiding, we're enabling this behavior of corruption. We're enabling these leaders or politicians who think they're above the law. We're enabling them. We're telling them, they deserve to have all this and they deserve to give us change. If I may tell you something, even if you're not choosing, you are still making a choice. By standing on the sidelines, where we see a lot of maybe a lot of the people who believe they probably have reached and they are in a good position financially, maybe, materially, in terms of like they have a nice gated picket fenced home, they drive a nice car, even when they drive it on in potholes, even if they choose not to engage in the dialogue that's currently going on about the revolutionary change, even if they have still chosen, they have made a choice not to choose. Not choosing is still a choice. So when we say we are blaming the society, we are blaming the politicians, we're blaming the community or society in Uganda of not being what it is now, we are still and making a choice to go abroad or in diaspora. We have chosen, not the other one. It's not the environment that has made the we have chosen. That's the thing, that our mindset needs to be revolutionized completely. We need to turn it on its head. Yeah, I know most of you might disagree with this perspective. That is my perspective. I firmly believe in, because I know that I have chosen, made decisions, blamed someone else, but ultimately, or I have remained in relationships that are very toxic. And when I talk about the relationships, it doesn't mean the intimate relationships with the opposite sex, or a boyfriend, or a fiance or something. I'm talking about relationships when it comes to family. I know I have contributed to someone not being able to say, I will make every effort to make, why I'm asking you for maybe 1 million to contribute to my business. I will make every effort to not misuse this money, because I'm going to do things differently. And 10, 20 years on, you're still paying the school fees for their children. You are still feeding them. You're still, but this is the same person that you've given probably over and over, contributed to the poor money management. So I blame it all on myself. It's not that person. Because if I didn't make that choice to give them, so the same concept works. If you don't choose to leave, if you don't choose to sell your business to go to pastures new, that is your choice, your decision. It's not the you're not to blame a politician, because what is going to happen if another circumstance changes? You're going to be changing with circumstances all the time. When are we going to stop changing ourselves, our values, what we really truly believe in, because of circumstances? We have to hold on. So when we have the vision, we have a vision of UFCC, for instance. We cannot change it because there was a circumstance, unless we really did not believe in the cause in the first place. But I challenge you to reevaluate your current life choices. Truly and honestly, take inventory about your life's choices. For instance, I repeated, those of us in the diaspora have gone intentionally. We've purposefully gone. We might not have known that we have done that, but we did anyway, by taking action to do so. We did that on our own. It wasn't a circumstance in per se. We had a choice. I know most of the time we would like to put everything on circumstance, because it's easier. Like I said, it's easier to blame someone else, something else outside of ourselves. We could have chosen to stay like the majority of our counterparts back home. Not everyone left Uganda. The majority are still in Uganda. So even those that have gone to countries where they have felt, have had so many stories, the death, the bad treatment, of their fellow citizens. They've seen bodies come back home. They've seen people come back home bruised, disabled. They have still made a choice to go. Don't get me wrong. I am not condemning an individual. What I am saying, we have taken on learned behaviors, habits of those we associate with, that the only choice is to go abroad, and that's where success is. Success is where you are now. And success is not about money or material things. Success is really about when you learn something better, like us who are on this platform. when we learn that there's something different, a different perspective, that is success in itself, because you know why? It has put you in a different mindset. You will choose better and different, not perhaps better, but you choose different, and you choose the right, you make the right choice going into, like, you've chosen not the politicians. You want something else. You want the federal system. Yes, we need to survive. Yes, we need to earn a livelihood. But why do we believe that the only way to earn it is to travel abroad and not do it at home? Because of our mindset. It's our mindset. I acknowledge that most of us will say, but Sophia, the circumstances at home are not, they're not conducive. Yes, okay, fair enough. You have a point there. If they're not, how do you think they will improve if we don't stay to change them? Leaving, fleeing, flight, moving away from is a sign of conceding. We give up, we give in. It's a sign of fear. I included, it's not, I'm not, there's no particular person. All I'm saying is that we just need to be a little bit truthful and open and honest about why we behave the way we behave in the Ugandan society or African society. Why do we behave? Why do we always believe something else is better out there, not at home? You cannot tell me that selling off your business and have a total of maybe 7 million might not be deemed as a sign of madness by not starting something else, perhaps smaller, something within your means. I have heard someone say, or I can quote someone, this is Diraj. I listen to his audios a lot and it's on Clubhouse. When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. Even if you don't see the war against humanity, or in our case, about the Ugandan situation, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It does not mean it doesn't exist. So when the Great Awakening movement is emerging, where are you? Where are you going to place yourself? If you want to live a life of peace, abundant, and a limitless potential of getting money, we need positive thinking. You cannot be lamenting all the time. I am poor. I don't have. Every single time we don't have. I don't have. Please help me. Please rescue me. Please do this. That is a lack mindset. You're saying you're not deserving. But the natural thing, God's natural way, is that we all have abundance. It's only that the corrupt mind, because of the culture we've been, the things that we've been, the things that we have seen, we've lived in, our environment has shaped the way we think. If our life was to change by going abroad, this would have been true by now. This would be reflective in our savings, in the money we've accumulated over the years. We'll be billionaires. Wouldn't you agree? Therefore, we must rethink our mindset. This determines our actions. It is not our circumstances that determine our actions. We should not go with changing because of circumstances most of the time. We need to speak what we seek until we see what we said. Again, a quote have borrowed is speak what you seek until you see what you said. Speak life into your desires. We need to speak life into our desires, our vision, our ideal life. Instead of lamenting, instead of calling on to someone else to rescue us all the time, and all you're seeing is lack of something, speak abundance. Genevieve Berend says, faith builds up and fear destroys. And remember, thought is word, creates things. Your best self is in your thought, not a thing or action of someone else. So I will leave, if I may just probably go back to our presentation today, just so that we can know. I just wanted to talk to you about the other thing within this topic that I really wanted to talk about, and I will be probably ending soon. The program has gone on a little bit longer than I would have wanted, but I thought it was really important I really go through this today, because I haven't been for the last couple of weeks, so that we can really get to understand how our mind works. And before I start onto this topic, I am going to go into the next 3 weeks a topic about 10 stages of 10 stages or 10 phases of genocide. If we could go back a little bit in terms of the genocide, history repeats itself where we are now. Uganda, from colonization to date, we are led by dictatorships. The world, what role has the COVID pandemic, for instance, played in what we're going through now as a country, as a people? When we look at the 10 stages or phases of the genocide, not all genocide will look the same. For instance, when you think about depopulation, the use of biochemical, the use of science, of jobs and war, use of, the guns and other implements, what do you think about? What do you sort of notice? I think what I might do for the sake of time is that I'm introducing a little bit of this for next coming 3 weeks of the revolutionary SPA. We'll be looking at the 10 phases of the genocide. Maybe you could go a little bit and research, and then when I come in to to present my findings, we can really look at. I want it to be a little bit just to continue the conversation in terms of consensus where Chimbugwe Live's program is, what you've heard about the episodes about the Rwandan genocide. But this, I'm talking about the general genocide and the phases. These are researched, and therefore it's important that we know what the phases are. We can work out, what do you think we are? Which stage do you think we are in? So if we move on to our next. So the Great Awakening, when you look at the 10 phases of the genocide, it is happening everywhere. It's not probably just Uganda. The Great Awakening movement is emerging everywhere. Where are you? Are you continuing as business as usual with the same mindset about the deserving and undeserving? Where are you? Are you going to be trying to just make money? Is it all about money anymore? Are we going to lose, and then we go into the wilderness? And so we will, the way, the makeup of our country, of our culture, of our, where we come from home, are we going to just completely wallow and be hopeless in the diaspora? Because we are leaving thinking of material accumulation of things, of money. So when I would just like to just, give a brief summary of what genocide is. And next week, we'll be going through in more detail. So genocide is a process that develops in 10 stages that are predictable, but not inexorable. At each stage, there are preventative measures that can stop it. If you'd like to know more information about this, I'll put the link in the chat here. That Genocide Watch. If you can go on the Genocide Watch, you can actually have a look and have a look and read on what genocide is and the 10 stages of genocide. And what I will do next week, I'll be going into it a bit more detail, and I have a guest, hopefully will discuss this whole genocide and phases of genocide. And hopefully that you also would have done your research. I'm just trying to put the link for you in the chat here, which you should be able to go in, yeah, and do a little bit of your research. But as we talk about, yes, genocide, I'll move this through this quickly because I'm mindful that we do have another show coming on. How does genocide occur? This process is not linear by any means. It can occur in many stages simultaneously. So for instance, when you look at the issue in Uganda, for instance, where you see the 10 stages, some of those 10 stages are about like classification. When you look at the classification, where are we being put? Where do you think where do you think that we are right now? When it's about what is classification, how do you think that Uganda, what stage is Uganda in when you think about classification? So when we think about so for instance, when you think about our citizenship, the nationality, remove or denial of the dual citizenship, for instance, and that the indigenous people have to reapply for their citizenship, their national identification. We don't have any sort of identification that we are not indigenous people. So what is the introduction of the national IDs about? They do not say whether you are indigenous or not, the difference, you and the foreigner who obtained it, like what difference does it make? What right do you have as an indigenous person? I believe in Rwanda as well, ID cards were used to distinguish between Tutsi and Hutus. They can always work in the other way, they can have another way of working, of identifying who is the Tutsi, who is the Hutu. That was used in the in the Rwandan genocide. There was also world examples like natives of America, they were denied citizenship. So there are different stages. Each stage in itself is a process. Logically, later stages are preceded by earlier stages. For instance, all stages continue to operate throughout the process of the genocide. When you look at the impunity, when you look at the symbolism. So today, if I talk just briefly, going into the classification, like I said, it can be about the ID cards introduction. It can be about the indigenous having to reapply for their citizenship or denied their citizenship. When you look at the world view of the Native Americans denied citizenship until 1924, after centuries of genocide that almost wiped out the entire population. When you look at the Rohingyas in Burma, there was a law introduced in 1982 that classified them as, classified their citizenship. Sorry, classified them out of citizenship. So it can either be very clever. The law of classification can either introduce these ID cards for the good of the people, but it can it can remove you or strip you of your identity, or it can be the other way around where it's identifying sort of where you come from, so that you can be singled out at some point. So we know about like the Jewish and the Roma people in Nazi Germany. First, they were first stripped off of their citizenship before the massive killings. So when I look at the Ugandan situation, it is suspicious, definitely. Remove the indigenous Ugandans, their rights to property, land, etc. We know what has been going on, the discussions going on in parliament, bringing it as if it's law, legal, not just because someone in power is changing something and putting it in law, it does not make it the truth. For instance, the first step towards the genocide of the Jews and the Roma people in Nazi Germany were the laws to strip them of their German citizenship. We have been stripped of our Ugandan citizenship. So if we move on, I'll be finishing in probably about 5 minutes. If you think about it, even if you don't see the war against humanity, or in our case about the Ugandan situation, it doesn't mean it does not exist. And guess what? That's what Nazi Germany population thought. I am a big fan of these two ladies, Janet and Cynthia. When you look at the fall of a cabal, I was on one of their Zooms and I was listening in on how these phases really work out. So when I say I've done research, I have done research. I am attending, forums. I'm reading. We're all here trying to do that, to speak from evidence, to speak from research, not hearsay. So it's about the state, that the current situation is about behavioral experiment. When you look at the current state, when they talk about this big awakening I'm talking about, if you think it's only about Uganda, think again. Look a little bit wider from just this. It's a Uganda issue. It's wider, just like Professor Malik was here all the time telling us the story of the cabal. I don't want to go into it so that we jeopardize, because there's a lot of censorship or algorithms on here. So we don't want to jeopardize our shows. But the bottom line is that you need to look into these things yourself. Hope and despair, this whole thing of bringing hope and despair, this is exactly what they're doing. The Ugandan situation, where it's hope and despair, you see lines and lines and lines of women, especially when the genocide is about cleansing the women. We've seen it when Prince Chimbugwe was talking about the Rwandan genocide. We've seen it. It was about cleansing society of the women and children. These are the future of humanity. So when you completely bring the hopelessness to our women who are going in drones to the Arab world, you see queues and queues of them at the airport. The fact that they're making it easier for anyone to acquire a passport. I know it's your human right, but then why isn't it, like Prince Chimbugo was saying before, why isn't it that it is only the Ugandans are being given the passports? It's making it easier so that you leave. The more you leave, when you come back, you will not have anything. You think you're going to get things where you're going, but you will return and there won't be a thing left for you and your children. So hope and despair to create chaos. That's the whole, the purpose of these genocides. A comparison of previous historic situations that changed the world forever. Like I said, the Nazi Germany, that was an event that we will never ever want to happen. you have the Rwandan genocide we will never ever want to happen. And so when you look at the Ugandan situation, clearly there are signs that are sort of very scary, and they're showing us that the things are not what they should be. And that is instinctful. You do not have to wait for someone to tell you that something is not right. You don't have to have an education, as in the mainstream education, as people may think, or all the PhDs to know that what is going on at home, Uganda, is right. So the historical events, I was saying, the segregation, the slavery over 400 years ago, 600 years, it might have been even the Holocaust, which is the Nazi Germany. I'm talking about the Rwandan genocides in the mid-90s, South African apartheid to 80s, Australian Aboriginals. Those are sort of forgotten people, but the Australia's Aboriginals, American Red Indians. So these are the historical events, most recent current events. What do you see? Exploitation, trafficking, which is happening a lot on the African continent. You have a lot of economic inequalities or inequities. Why is it that Africa is being, or, there's a lot of natural resources that can make us one of the richest continent, or we are the richest continent, not make us, but we are. But in truth, that is not the case on ground. Sorry, in fact, because the truth is we are the richest, but the fact is we are not, because of these inequalities. What is the purpose of all of this? Why is it that we're the ones that are being given the loans, to be tied into this hopelessness for a very long time, forever? Why is it that the Chinese are bringing their own workforce on the African soil? Why isn't there any Africans that can do the job? Are we able to go to China and get the same jobs like we give them? When you look at the curfews, those are all signs, someone taking advantage of the COVID situation to have the curfew for extended periods. Children not in school, in education, those 2 years, all those are signs of stages of genocide. Don't give them education so they can remain ignorant and pure and poor. But of course, you've got to remember, poor is a lot to do with the mindset. When you look at the police violence, when you look at the vaccine passports on the world stage, what does that say? You have a passport because to show you're vaccinated. When you look at what happened, the symbols where when you would compare the German situation, or Nazi German situation back in the 1930s, there were passports, there were signs to show that this was a Jew and this was not. And I believe it's called the Jude. Is it if we move on through our slides, I think it was called the. Let me see. Yeah, the Jude star. So, be if you about the vaccines, it's like you'll be fined or wear one, or else you must wear masks. The caption here says you must wear masks, stay in your homes, close your businesses, and take our vaccine. There will be fines and consequences. That are all sort of signs of the phases that we go through. So I was talking about stage one. Stage one was about classification, culture, race, religion, ethnicity, the nationality, like ID cards. I'm not going to go into it in detail. I've already done that. But when you think about those things, what are they really? What do you see is going on for us or in the world? Yeah, we move on. When you look at the denial of dual citizenship, I was talking about it already. So all of those things, what do you think they're about? When you in stage two, when I'll go to stage two just quickly, and so I can conclude at least by 9 o'clock, and then I will come again next week, and I'll be going through all the stages, but from stage three over the next couple of weeks, it will be about the stages of the genocide. I've put the link into the chat. Do have a look and get to do your research or reading about it so that you understand what it is that I'm talking about. So when we continue to our next about the stages, the Star of Jude, I just want everybody to have a look at that Star of Jude on the next slide. It shows us these symbols. When you look at the Ugandan situation, the people power movement, anyone having that people power symbol, our power, whatever, and the national resistance, or NRM, as we call it, national what? Prince Chimbwe calls it. But anyway, when you look at those symbols, what do you see when one wears the other and being mistreated because of wearing a red or that symbol? Where do you see that? How do where do you see it in the stage of, in the phases of the genocide? When you look at what we went through in the campaigns, you saw that there was one side which was, literally went through the campaigns, COVID was not affecting them. Then you have one side which full of red and following the red, and then you have COVID affecting them. Therefore, they must have they needed to have the what they needed to have the how do you call the treatment from the police they had. You know what I'm talking about. But I just want to show the picture where you've got one party going through, they've gone all together, and then you've got one party which is, you almost see like a war zone, like a smoke, like whatever that means. But as I conclude, and like I said, I will start again from next week. When we talk about the deserving and undeserving, what do you think? Are you categorizing yourself about the deserving? Right? Be grateful no matter what the circumstances, because you are still here, healthy and able. We know, let's stop thinking micro, so we must think macro. Otherwise, it would not be a revolution, but the same of everything. We know that the powers that be, including the IMF, have a big stake control in our economy through so-called loans, donations. We know how the government is in bed with players like US, China, and the rest, who fund the wars in the East African Great Lakes region. Be grateful no matter what, because you're still here, healthy and able to speak. Do you have a warm bed, a meal a day? Think again, what is your definition of success? So these are really pointers I'm trying to give you. So write it down if you must. So I leave you with this. There was a video I saw of a young man I'll bring it to you next time. But this young man is playing a guitar, saying, "I'm happy. I just want you to share my video." But behind him, there were really kids in rugged clothes, and also sort of a dumping place. I think he was somewhere, maybe in the ghetto, or downtown. But no matter his surroundings, he was like, if you observe where he is standing, he hasn't made it an excuse to flee. So I encourage each and every one of us to think consciously in order that we are purposeful before we speak and act on what is not working. Rather, we concentrate on what is working in our lives from an abundant mindset instead of a lack mindset. Thoughts indeed do become things. We need a revolutionary mindset, a shift in mindset of what we don't have to what we actually do have. We have everything, and it all starts with the thought. Thoughts become things. That's how these governments have come about. That's how businesses have come about. The thought is what is important. It's not what you see outside physically, it's the unseen that's the bigger, what we need to concentrate on. Like that young man, starting from where he was, you too can start from where you are. Not saying, what if this changes, I will then do this. Not about hoping you might, instead to say you will. We ought to redefine how we look at the idea of the deserving and undeserving. Everyone is deserving because God has commanded it to be so. Poverty is not natural. It is rather the poverty and lack mindset that we place our thoughts upon. We manifest it to be true. Have a look at Genevieve Behrend's book. It's a little book, very easy to read. Your Invisible Power suggests that your fear of poverty and loneliness, because you believe them possible for you, your fear of poverty and loneliness is because you believe them possible for you. We know that Hitler used the law of autosuggestion that can be seen in his propaganda, magical believing. In his book, Richard Murphy also suggests that Germany was for only a particular ethnic white race of blonde and blue-eyed individuals was preached to gather people over and over again until they believed it so. So when you repeat something over and over again, we are creatures of habit, remember. It becomes to be so. The Rwandan Tutsis also had similar thought, and over a period of time, we know how that turned out. So through habitual tendencies, what we do, doing something over and over and over, like now, by holding firmly our faith and thought that victory is what we desire and already ours, we will prevail and eventually have a revolutionary change, what we want to be. So before you go to sleep at night and when you wake up, maybe visualize the kind of circumstances you'd like to have, even if you are not certain how that is going to happen, but visualize it, hold it firm in your mind. Just believe strongly. If we say we are of God, you pray 5 times a day, you go to church every Sunday, but your belief is really based on actions, what you see. Your faith is not really based on the unseen. I share a little bit of my recent experience recently about getting a job. I held so strong that I will get it. Before I attended the interview, I got the job. In fact, I got 2, so I had to make so many choices. Which one am I going to go for? But when I didn't believe of a certain job that I wouldn't get it, I knew before I even attended the interview, I didn't get the job because I didn't hold that firm belief that I would get it. What am I saying? When we self-doubt, when we don't have a strong belief and faith that we won't achieve a certain goal, we are manifesting our own failures. We are not victims. We are not undeserving. Instead, we are perfectly made by God according to the natural laws of abundance. The same way a farmer thinks to grow vegetables like tomatoes, he decides to grow them in a small bottle. What shape do you think the tomatoes will be at time of harvesting? I bet these will come out as the shape of the bottle. Not the same way you think tomatoes are naturally. So we mold our reality when we build the thought of what we don't want to become. We don't just become what we are by accident. We would have thought of it first, then it physically became true according to our thought. Hence, molding our world and giving it form of things like luck in something will give us luck in our lives. I am thankful for the time that you have given me and being on UNN. I pray the Almighty keeps you well and that you start having firm belief in yourself for a revolutionary mindset, which will help us shape the circumstances we want in a revolutionary Uganda. Thank you and good night. Knowledge is not power, but applied knowledge is power. Remember that. Do your part, get involved for a revolutionary change. I thank my producer and all of you UNNians, all those in favor of federal UFCC team, all of you individually. Thank you. Good night. A blessed week. It's your girl, Sophia Sebi, on the Revolutionary Self-Purposeful Action Show. Thank you. Bye.